Hello, everyone. We are happy to have received the gold medal of the Serious Play Conference. And it's on Buddi Bot, a game that we developed last summer. And today we're going to discuss Buddi Bot and the challenges of making Buddi Bot. And we have an esteemed panel. Before I introduce them, I am going to be the moderator. I'm Dr. Paul Toprak. I am a professor of instruction in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Texas at Austin. So today our panel are three developers that helped create the game Buddi Bot. Kevin Benavides, Alexia Carmona, and Ivan Olin. Would you like to please introduce yourselves?
I guess I should go first because my name's first. I'm Kevin. I'm an associate designer at Bethesda Game Studios Austin. I was the designer for Buddi Bot, so I was responsible for designing the game mechanics and puzzles, and then of course cooperating with our art and programming so that we could put together all the levels.
Hey. Hi, I'm Alexia. I'm a video game artist. I worked on the UI as well as 3D modeled the phone and a few assets in the game.
And my name's Ivan. I'm the disembodied voice here, and I was also the lead programmer on Buddi Bot, and I got to cooperate with a team of 3 programmers, including myself and these wonderful people, to make this game.
So the impetus to create Buddi Bot started with a group of professors, Sam Baker, Suzanne Scott, and I, at the University of Texas at Austin, when we asked the question to ourselves, well, how does media influence public perception of artificial intelligence? And does it really influence it? And our research indicated that it did. This naturally led us to engage students at UT to create artifacts that highlight the potential opportunities and pitfalls of using AI in the future. One such artifact is Buddi Bot, a game about a helper robot who uses machine learning to help people in their daily lives. This game is targeted for users 13 and older who want to have fun and experience working with a machine learning robot in everyday settings. So before we show the trailer, Kevin, could you tell us a little bit about the initial concept of Buddi Bot and where it came from?
Yeah, so there was a competition at UT in February 2020 for the best design concept of a game that pushes beyond standard representations of killer robots or helpful droids to inform an audience about the societal benefits or potential harms of artificial intelligence. One of the members of the winning team, Grant Ross, joined the development team as the sound designer, and Buddi Bot was created in 12 weeks over the summer.
Yes, it was 12 weeks with a team of 9, but everyone was half-time. So it was only really 54-person weeks of effort. I really feel that this is an incredible game that was developed from scratch by students. And they were given only half time during the summer in a compressed time frame. So it kind of just goes to show the kind of talent that UT Austin generates, which is awesome, by the way. All right, so let's go ahead and play the trailer. All right, well, okay, that's fun. Now let's see the game in action. Being a puzzle game, we cannot really show you how the puzzles are solved. That kind of ruined the game for you. But we hope to provide you with an idea of how the game is played, including the Buddi Bot's machine learning capabilities and the aesthetics. This first video we'll watch is a tutorial of the mechanics and why Buddi Bot does what it does. Ivan, could you please describe what Buddi Bot is doing in this video, in this tutorial?
Yeah, so tutorial is explaining. Oh, I'm getting some feedback from my you to a So this video is explaining the basics of the game. It's showing the concept that Buddi Bot uses a neural network to associate two input vectors to two output vectors. And these input and output vectors are both color and shape. So in the bottom right-hand corner here, you can see a history of Buddi Bot's training that essentially represents its training set, or what Buddi Bot has learned over time. And in the top right, you can see a phone, and that represents the player's ability to give Buddi Bot feedback and either reinforce things that Buddi Bot has learned, or essentially edit pieces of the training set so Buddi Bot will have different behavior in the future. So if we keep playing the video, we'll see the result of Buddi Bot's decision making.
Okay. Where did the idea of using color and shape for inputs to Buddi Bot come from?
So we decided, or we settled on color and shape because we wanted Buddi Bot to be able to interact with things in the world, but we wanted to simplify or reduce it to a degree that would allow for reasonable puzzle solving. And color and shape are two basic abstractions of everyday objects. So everything has a color, everything has a shape, and neural networks have to have a deterministic input and output. Like you can't, well, I shouldn't say that, but for the purposes of our game, they need to have a deterministic input and output. So a really simple neural network might take in numbers or colors and output other numbers that represent real life values. And in our game, we simplify that, and it takes in a preset list of shapes or a preset list of colors to allow Buddi Bot to observe and interact with the world.
And is Buddi Bot truly doing machine learning in this game?
No, he's not actually doing real machine learning. And the reason we decided to approximate machine learning instead of implement an actual neural network or something else that would represent real machine learning is because it would simply be too hard to design for and probably frustrating to interact with for the type of game that this is, which is a simple puzzle game that's more meant to communicate some basic concepts and vocabulary of AI and not the nitty-gritty of how it works. And
I don't see the neural network here, Alexia.
Is this the whole video?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the trailer.
Okay, interesting. I was looking at a different video earlier. That's
well, it'll show up later on. But could you tell us a little bit about the design of the visual design of the neural network and how it was arrived at?
Sure. So for the neural network, we wanted the design to be educational as well as accurate to a real neural network, while having still a simple design that players could understand. Initially, we wanted to go with icons for the input and output nodes of the neural network, but instead we went with text, as it was easier for the player to understand what the associations and labels were for Buddi Bot.
All right. Well, then let's look at this one next video. And Kevin, could you please walk us through what's going on in this video, including the mechanics and why Buddi Bot's behaving as it is?
Okay, so this is our first level. Player is clicking on the dish, and Buddi Bot sees it as a white disk. The only previous training that Buddi Bot had with those tags is disk. So he thought it was a frisbee and threw it at the player. And so this is intentional behavior, and it's supposed to be how the player learns how easy it is for Buddi Bot to mistake objects with each other when he's trying to understand simple things like colors and shapes.
And then there was a rewind feature too, right?
Yeah. So we wanted players to understand the the cause and effect and how Buddy Bot's learning, past learnings could affect the player and what they're doing. However, we didn't really want it to like lock the player out of anything or really create any real blockers. So we allow players to rewind, to undo their previous action so that they can learn and kind of go through trial and error of the best course of action for Buddi Bot to learn what he needs to learn.
And in the phone on the upper right hand, you can see the representation of the neural network that Alexia was speaking about earlier. Okay, so this is the second level. And again, we don't want to spoil the game for you. So we're not going to show you how to solve this problem, this puzzle. But we'll show you some interesting behavior that Buddi Bot may have. Let's go ahead and play the video. Oh, snap. Buddi Bot's throwing trash into the toilet. It must have been some kind of association between a pile and white containers. Well, these things happen. All right, Alexia, can you, I really like the art of this game. Of course, I really like this game, period. And the sound aesthetics. Can you tell us anything about how those were arrived at?
Yes. So we wanted to create like a fun, quirky, technical aesthetic, as you can hear with the music, as well as Buddi Bot's design. And we also wanted the colors to be appealing as well as calming to create a type of casual playing environment.
All right, very good. So now we have 2 videos. And Kevin, could you tell us what's happening in these videos, please?
Yeah, so in our game, Buddi Bot goes through, this is the 3rd level. At this point, Buddi Bot have already gone through the 1st and 2nd level of the game. And in those levels, he remembers there's the associations he made with previous objects, and he's brought those into this 3rd level. And so because of the lighter fluids color and or shape and his previous interactions in the other levels, he is mistakenly setting things on fire, where the correct interaction there would be to put the lighter fluid in the grill after charcoal has been placed on there.
Kevin, no spoilers.
Oh, it's okay. It'll be hard to figure out anyway. It's okay.
All right, let's see the next one.
So here the player has the correct association that they want, and they fed the duck with their duck feed. So this is done because in all of the levels, we kind of give the players ways to retrain Buddi Bot so that you could kind of complete the level and do all of the tasks that you need to do without having disastrous effects. Of course, I won't tell you how to get through that, but each level should be able to be done without setting things on fire.
And there are sort of multiple ways of solving these problems of what you need to do. So it's not like prescriptive, there's only one way of doing it. So that allows the player some freedom about how to solve these problems. As you can see on the lower left-hand side, we've completed feeding the duck and got a gold star. All right, so then there's the final level, which is a bit different from the others. And so, Kevin, could you please describe what the player is doing on this level?
Yeah, so in this level, Buddi Bot is supposed to have learned all that he needs to know already. And if the player was successful in teaching Buddi Bot what he needs to know, this level should be able to be completed in the correct, if the correct order of actions is taken. So here, the player, rather than clicking on objects, Buddi does something and then you retrain him, you're being asked to click on the objects in a sequential order. And once you execute your command, he will go and he will attempt to do all of the actions in the order that you selected them in. And the idea here is that he should be able to make a vehicle, a little toy car, and deposit it in the toy chute.
Right, and there's like two different outcomes that you have in this level. We're not going to tell you what they are, but one happens if Buddi Bot has had good training and you're able to do it right. One is if you don't. Ivan, are both endings of the game realistic, you think?
We tried to go for somewhat realistic endings in this game, but they're also hyperbolic, and they both represent real critiques of AI that come from real life. And am I supposed to spoil the endings here?
Yeah.
But so one ending is that you give up, and Buddi Bot gets packaged up and sent home in a rather sad cutscene where you say goodbye to your pet robot. And this ending is supposed to represent the limitations of AI, which is also reinforced through the game design, where Buddi Bot's training set, or what he learns, is not easily transferable between levels, and you sort of have to force him to adapt to different environments unless you have played the game before and you can essentially predict the future. The other ending is where the player carefully crafts Buddi Bot's training set such that he knows how to function perfectly in the factory environment. And in this case, Buddi Bot essentially takes the player's job and automates the player into unemployment. So they're both sort of humorous endings, but have or were inspired by real world possibilities, either those of the limitations of AI or the possibility that AI has to replace certain jobs, like, for instance, truck drivers, like big rig drivers, to give you one example of a real life job being automated by AI right now.
All right. Well, we may have spoiled the ending, but the journey is the reward. So be sure to play the game. But what about challenges in developing Buddi Bot, the game? What were some of the challenges that we had?
One major challenge was working with a team of 9 people in a small span of time. But I think in this case, it worked to our benefit because we were able to make a lot of art assets and create a fully featured game with a very limited time budget. Another large challenge was getting all of these puzzle elements to work well and to be accessible enough by the players. And we made a lot of progress towards that with, first of all, Kevin's great work iterating on the design, and also our numerous playtests, through which we discovered we needed to add things like the rewind button and more clear UI elements to help players, even if they can't beat the game perfectly, they can not get stuck. And another element that we didn't really cover in the presentation yet was the fact that you can't, or the list on the side, the checklist of tasks to do, you have to complete, but you don't have to do it right, essentially. Like, you can fail a task and still move on to this next level, or you can even do a task imperfectly or perfectly and the game still lets you move on. Now, how you play the game will affect what ending you get, but all of these elements of allowing the player to rewind and not really forcing the player to play the game in any specific way allowed the game to be accessible.
But also it made it more difficult to develop, right? And one of the things that I failed to mention, because we're so used to it now, was that we did this in the middle of a pandemic, and we didn't actually ever meet up. It was a completely remote work. Talking about an extra challenge, just a little extra challenge on top of it. So do you think it was we achieved our goal of, and this is open up to everybody in the panel. Also, if you had any other challenges you want to add, please do so. We achieved our goal of representing AI in some kind of realistic manner and show sort of the good and bad parts of it and how that it could be societal benefits or potential harms of AI.
Personally, I think we met that goal of portraying AI in a more realistic way. it's not a simulation of AI, but it's a more accurate representation than Terminator or 2001: A Space Odyssey, for instance.
Kevin, Alexia?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Ivan. I think the biggest success of Buddi Bot and the development team in general is creating this game where it's, you know, it kind of lacks the melodrama that people love to write science fiction with. It's simply a robot who's tasked with doing your chores, and in a not too distant future, I imagine. And it kind of shows, I believe both endings kind of show like a real concern that people have about the direction of AI today.
I definitely have to agree. I think it does break a lot of the stereotypes that we have about AI and how AI is going to one day control the world. But I don't think AI would go to that extremes. I think it's more of a helpful tool in our everyday life.
And one other thing I like about our game compared to a lot of other media is that it's pretty neutral in the way it portrays Buddi Bot, because he can still do things that are wrong or bad, but he's not like one or the other. He's sort of what the player makes him to be, or it. I'm not sure if it has a gender, honestly.
I think it's an it. Yeah, so you could just have fun running through this whole game and not doing anything, not completing any of the tasks correctly, but having a good time in the meantime. So it allows the player a lot of freedom to do what he or she wants to do, but also it shows different ways that AIs can behave, and it's not like a stereotyped kind of AI. All right, so let's move on. You can download Buddi Bot for Mac and Windows on Steam. All you have to do is to search for Buddi Bot. You can also play it in your browser on itch.io. Safari is not recommended for that because it's hard to play through a game. It does not play the sound correctly in Safari, but the other browsers work well. Just search for Buddi Bot on either platform. I want to say, go ahead, Ivan.
It's free. I was just going to say.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. It's free. Though, if you want to send us money, we'll be glad to accept it. I want to say thank you to the members of the panel, and thank you for those who saw this presentation. And I hope you download the game or play it in your browser and enjoy it and provide us with feedback. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'm waving my hand, but you can't see it.